My name is Emily Carter, and for a long time, I tried to be the kind of girl everyone liked, respectful, quiet, a team player. I kept my head down, worked hard in my marketing job in downtown Chicago, and never gave anyone a reason to talk badly about me. But it turns out, sometimes silence is all it takes for people to write your story without your permission. It started subtly. A few coworkers whispering when I walked into the room. A joke that didn't land, followed by uncomfortable laughter. I didn't think much of it at first. Maybe I was overthinking it. But then it escalated. Jessica Monroe, the office sweetheart with a killer smile and venom behind her teeth, decided I was competition. She didn't like how quickly I was getting recognition from our boss, Mr. Holbrook. She didn't like how I presented ideas that actually got approved. She didn't like me. And so, she did what snakes do, she hissed. The first rumor was that I slept with Holbrook to land the lead on the Michigan account. It was ridiculous, insulting, and completely baseless. I didn't even know people were saying it until my friend Amy pulled me aside at lunch and whispered, "Emily, they're saying things about you. About how you got promoted." My stomach dropped. Suddenly, the glares made sense. The silence. The way people stopped including me in their group lunches. At first, I tried to laugh it off. People know better, I told myself. They know I'm not like that. But I underestimated how easily truth gets drowned in gossip. When I walked into a meeting room, it would go quiet. If I sent a team-wide email, responses were dry or non-existent. And worst of all, Mr. Holbrook started treating me differently. Like I had done something wrong. But I hadn't. I didn't fight back. Not yet. I still thought being professional would fix it.
Until I saw the note on my desk.
Written in sharp black marker on a sticky note. "We all know what you did." I stared at it for a long time. My hands were shaking. Something snapped in me that day. Not just because of the hate, but because I realized no one was coming to save me. And if they wanted a scandal so badly, maybe it was time I gave them one. It didn't take long after the initial betrayal for the shadows to start whispering again. You could feel them. Even when the rooms were quiet. Even when your phone didn't buzz, with another cruel message. Something was building, brewing behind closed doors, and though everything looked calm on the surface, your gut knew better. It began with a conversation you weren't supposed to hear. You were walking past the break room one afternoon, pretending to scroll through your phone while on your way to grab a coffee. That's when you caught your name, murmured like a curse under breath, barely above a whisper. "She just acts innocent," someone said. "Trust me, there's more going on there than she lets on," another replied, followed by a snort of laughter. You froze, halfway through the doorway, breath caught like glass in your chest. Their voices, familiar ones, slithered around your ears. Claire, with her thick-lashed eyes and sharpened smile. And Marcus, the office gossip with a spreadsheet for everyone's secrets. You knew they had never liked you. But this felt personal, purposeful, calculated. You walked away before they could see you, but the words clung to you like static, itching under your skin. The following days were worse. Little things started changing. Your group chat with a few coworkers went silent. No new messages, no replies when you sent a meme or asked a question. You chalked it up to busyness. Maybe everyone was stressed. But then you noticed that they'd posted stories from a team hangout you hadn't been invited to. A dinner. Laughter.
Drinks.
Inside jokes and captions. All without you. It wasn't just social. You started catching side glances in meetings, people exchanging subtle looks when you spoke, as if they knew something you didn't. Their politeness felt practiced, too smooth, like everyone was acting. Paranoia began to slip in. You'd lie awake at night, replaying moments, dissecting every word you'd said in the past month. Did you offend someone? Was there something you missed? Were you the punchline of a joke behind closed doors? You even checked your old emails, wondering if you'd accidentally leaked something or sent a message to the wrong person. But there was nothing. You were careful. Always had been. So, why did it feel like your reputation was unraveling? It hit a breaking point one morning when you walked into the office kitchen and the room fell unnaturally quiet. Claire and Marcus were there, along with 3 others from the marketing team. They stopped talking the moment they saw you. One of them even avoided eye contact entirely, suddenly interested in stirring her tea like it held answers to the universe. You smiled cautiously. Morning. No one replied. The silence was sharp.
Too sharp.
You reached for the coffee pot, trying to keep your hands from trembling, when Claire finally spoke. Her voice was honey-coated but laced with venom.
Oh, hey.
You've been keeping busy lately, huh? Something about the way she said it felt off. Loaded. You nodded slowly. Yeah, I've had a lot on my plate. Claire smirked. I bet. And with that, she walked out, heels clicking like gunshots on the tile floor. The others followed. No one looked back. You stood there, coffee forgotten, feeling like the floor had just disappeared beneath you. That's when you knew. This wasn't your imagination. This wasn't paranoia. Something was happening. Something deliberate. Someone, or several someones, were working behind the scenes to isolate you, to erode your credibility.
But why? And how?
The seed of suspicion blossomed into full-blown resolve. You began to observe, silently, carefully. You stopped responding to group chats. You stopped smiling as much. You became still, watchful, a mirror instead of a participant. And in that stillness, you started seeing the cracks. Claire's smirk always deepened when someone mentioned your name in meetings. Marcus would glance at you sideways before saying something vaguely insulting cloaked as a joke. There were whispers cut off when you entered rooms. Laughter that quieted too quickly. Then there was the file. You found it accidentally, saved to the shared drive with a vague title, Random Ideas _4Q. But when you opened it, it wasn't ideas. It was a list. Your name. Speculations. Rumors. False accusations masked as notes. Heard she was sleeping with someone in HR for raises. Did she really earn that promotion? Acting like a victim lately, something to hide? You stared at it, heart pounding so hard you thought it might break through your ribs. It was a scandal they were building. Not one you'd caused, but one they were crafting. Whisper by whisper. Word by word. Turning you into someone unrecognizable. It was worse than you thought. And still, no one had said a word to your face. You closed the file. Saved a copy. Then deleted the original. Let them wonder. Because now you were done playing nice. You were done questioning yourself. You were going to give them what they wanted. A scandal. But not the one they expected. That weekend, you disappeared from social media. No stories. No updates. Nothing. You wanted them curious. You wanted them hungry for gossip. You spent 2 days planning, digging through your own records, preparing receipts, drafting the beginning of your own game. You weren't just going to fight back. You were going to redefine what scandal looked like. You were going to rise. I had told myself it would blow over. Rumors come and go, right? That's what everyone says. But the ones they spread about me didn't just sting, they stuck. Like tar. Thick, heavy, impossible to wash off. But I wasn't going to sit around anymore. I needed answers. Not just gossip or whispers in the hallway. I wanted to know who started it, who fed the flames, and who stood back smiling while I burned. So I started watching. Listening. People underestimate what you can learn when you just stop talking. It was after hours at work when I overheard the first real clue. I was coming back from the copier when I paused by the break room, just out of habit. That's when I heard my name. She really thought she could just pretend like nothing happened. A pause. She's lucky it hasn't gone further. Yet. It was Cassandra's voice. Clear as glass. Her laugh, fake sweet and venom-laced, followed. I froze. Cassandra. My former best friend. Of course. The same Cassandra who once slept on my couch. Who once cried in my arms about her ex. The one I helped get her foot in the door at this company. So that's where the knife came from. I leaned against the wall, my breath shallow. She was talking to someone else. I didn't catch the voice, but they were agreeing, egging her on. Their words blurred, drowned by the roaring in my ears. I had my first real piece of evidence. A direction. And that changed everything.
I didn't go home that night.
I drove. No destination. Just needed the windows down and the road stretching in front of me. The betrayal simmered in my chest like boiling water with the lid on tight. Cassandra wasn't just part of it. She was the source. And maybe, just maybe, others were involved too. People I trusted. People who smiled at me while whispering lies behind my back. I pulled over in an empty parking lot. My hands were shaking as I scrolled through old messages. I started seeing the pattern. The nights she was suddenly too busy. The times she redirected conversations about work. The texts that fell off but I dismissed. Then I remembered something. A few weeks ago, Cassandra had asked me about a project I'd been working on, a private one. She said she was curious, but she pressed for details I hadn't even shared with our team yet. At the time, I thought it was strange, but I shrugged it off. Now I saw it for what it was: phishing. I opened my laptop right then and there in my car. I had to know more. Logging into the company's shared drive, I combed through recent access logs. Took me hours, but I found it. Cassandra had downloaded files with my name on them. Files from my private folder. She didn't even work on those accounts. There was no reason for her to be in there. Unless... I blinked at the screen. Unless she was leaking them.
I sat still for a long time.
Just staring. Not only had they spread lies about my personal life, but now, Cassandra had weaponized my work. I didn't even know what she'd done with the files. Shared them? Claimed credit? Leaked them to a competitor? The possibilities made my stomach twist. And here I was, sitting in the dark, shaking like a child while she played chess with my career. Suddenly, the world shifted. I wasn't the victim anymore. I was the storm coming. The next day, I went in early. Earlier than anyone else. I set traps, simple ones. I created a new project folder with false data, tagged with invisible markers. Then I waited. By lunchtime, I had proof. Cassandra had accessed it. Again. And within hours, the details from that fake file had somehow leaked into a meeting, repeated by a department that had no business knowing. She was selling me out. But here's where she underestimated me. I didn't storm into her office screaming. I didn't call her out at lunch in front of everyone.
No.
That would have been too easy. Instead, I played her game. I smiled. I waited. I bided my time. And while she thought she was weaving her perfect little web, I was gathering receipts, messages, access logs, voice recordings. I even installed a subtle screen recorder in the meeting room where she usually hosted her strategy sessions. It wasn't against policy. And what I caught on video sealed it. She wasn't working alone. Two others, James and Kelly, were in on it. I watched them laugh about how easy it was to manipulate the narrative. How I was too busy trying to be the hero to notice what they were doing. They laughed. And I stared at the screen. The image burned into my mind. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't feel numb. I felt calm. The kind of calm that comes when you finally stop running. When the plan has formed so perfectly in your mind that it feels inevitable. That's when I began planning the real scandal. Not one born of whispers and lies. No, mine would be loud.
Real.
And absolutely unforgettable. I started laying the foundation. Pulled all the receipts into a neat folder. Compiled them into a timeline. Added the video evidence, watermarked and timestamped. Then I sent an anonymous tip to the company's internal ethics board. That wasn't the end of it. I also forwarded everything, every message, every clip, to an industry journalist. One known for exposing corporate corruption and scandal. Of course, I masked my identity. But I made sure the article would hit just before the company's quarterly board review.
A scandal was coming, all right.
But it wasn't me at the center anymore.
It was them.
I leaned back, finally breathing freely for the first time in weeks. They wanted a scandal? Fine. But it was going to be real, raw, and nuclear. And this time, everyone would know exactly who the villains were. I stood in the center of that grand hall, the clink of champagne glasses and the buzz of gossip fluttering around like insects in the summer heat. Everything about the charity gala screamed status. Designer gowns, fake smiles, and behind-the-scenes venom disguised as social niceties. The perfect stage for what was about to unfold. They didn't see me at first, too caught up in their own self-importance. Madison, with her arm draped around Aaron, laughing as if they hadn't orchestrated my public humiliation just months ago. My stomach twisted, not with fear, but with a cold, focused anticipation. They'd come to destroy me with whispers and rumors. But tonight, I was going to speak. I approached the podium as the event host wrapped up his well-rehearsed thank you speech. My name was on the guest list as one of the anonymous donors who'd made the night possible. No one expected me to show up. They thought I had left town, broken and embarrassed. And that's exactly why this moment was going to matter. I tapped the mic. A sharp echo pierced through the chatter, silencing the crowd in one ripple. Madison's eyes locked onto mine first, her smile faltering. Aaron followed her gaze. Confusion etched across his face. "Good evening," I began, my voice steady, smooth, and sharper than they remembered. I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but after everything that's been said about me, I thought I owed you all a little truth. Gasps fluttered like wind through dry leaves. I scanned the room and saw the wide-eyed curiosity of people starving for drama. People who had once eaten up every lie Madison and Aaron spoon-fed them, about me stealing from my own company, sleeping my way to the top, being emotionally unstable. The false scandal they created had gone viral in our industry circles, forcing me to resign and vanish, at least in their version of the story. I disappeared for a while, I said, fingers lightly resting on the edge of the podium, because I needed to collect myself. Not because I was guilty, but because I was smart enough to know the truth needs preparation. Madison's face turned pale. Aaron shifted in place, whispering something to the person next to him. "But tonight I bring receipts. Literal ones," I added, holding up a flash drive. "Every false document, every manipulated email, every doctored expense report you claimed proved my fraud. I traced them back. Guess whose digital fingerprints are all over them?" The room went dead quiet. My former assistant, Aaron. I looked him directly in the eyes. And Madison, my best friend at the time, who vouched for those lies. Together, you fabricated everything. I have emails, timestamps, backups. I even had a forensic analyst verify them. Aaron started to speak, but I raised my hand, silencing him. "I'm not here to argue," I said coldly. "I'm here to expose." Then came the real blow. You see, I didn't just clear my name. I bought out the holding company that acquired your failing PR firm last month. Yes, Madison, I now own the majority shares of your agency. And Aaron, your position as junior partner has been dissolved, effective this morning. Someone let out a sharp, audible gasp. A few phones had already begun recording. You two tried to destroy me for clout. You didn't just spread lies. You built a narrative that nearly crushed my career. But instead of playing your game, I built my own empire. Quietly, carefully. And now, I stepped away from the mic. My voice dropped just enough for the front rows to lean in. "Now you work for me." Madison looked like she might faint. Aaron's mouth opened, but no words came out. It was as if reality hadn't caught up to them yet. "I'll be emailing you both later this week with updated HR expectations," I added with a cold smile. "And trust me, our standards for professionalism are far higher than the ones you lived by." A ripple of nervous laughter passed through the audience. People started whispering, taking videos, exchanging glances. I knew the scandal I had just dropped would spread faster than the one they created. But this time, it was real, documented, unstoppable. As I stepped off the stage, people parted like the sea. Some offered nods of respect. Others looked away, perhaps ashamed for having believed the lies. I didn't care either way. I wasn't here for their validation. Only one person mattered. I paused in front of Madison. She was frozen, eyes glistening with the kind of panic you can't fake. "Why?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "Why did you go this far?" I leaned in, just enough so she'd hear every syllable. "You started the fire," I whispered, "but I learned how to burn brighter." Then I walked away. The fallout wasn't loud, it was eerily quiet. The kind of silence that chokes a room. No more gossip. No more whispers behind my back. Just silence. I thought I'd feel vindicated, maybe even triumphant after exposing them. But instead, I felt empty. Like I dropped a match and watched an entire town burn, then stood in the ashes wondering if it was really worth it. The emails had spread
fast.
The scandal was out. Screenshots, videos, recorded conversations. Everyone who had helped smear my name was now fighting for theirs. Their social media was flooded with backlash. Their DMs, once filled with smug emojis and lies about me, were now flooded with hate messages and questions from people who once trusted them. But revenge has a strange taste. At first, it's sweet, addictive. But the aftertaste? Bitter, acidic, and it lingers. I stared at my phone as it vibrated again and again. Apologies, excuses, people begging me to talk, to take it down, to let it go. The very people who watched me unravel, who helped destroy my name, were now at my mercy. One by one, they reached out. Sophia sent a voice note, sobbing. She said she never meant for things to go that far. That she didn't think people would believe her lies. That it was just gossip.
Just gossip, she said.
I played that note on loop for hours. Then there was Aaron, the golden boy. His internship gone. His parents humiliated. He sent me a long email, apologizing, explaining, justifying. He said he was immature, under pressure, following the group. They always blame the group when the walls close in. And the others? Some went silent. Cowards. Some blocked me outright. As if that could erase what they did. But I didn't need their apologies. The damage had already been done. But something had shifted in me. I wasn't the same girl they once laughed at in the break room, the one they whispered about during lunch, the one they pointed fingers at and called desperate for attention.
No.
That version of me died the day I chose to stop crying and started recording. Now I stood tall. Alone but tall. My career, surprisingly, didn't fall apart. If anything, the scandal pushed me into a new spotlight. People respected the way I'd stood up for myself. Some were afraid. Others admired it. I got calls from companies who admired my resilience. One even called me a modern-day phoenix.
Dramatic?
Maybe. But I'll take it. Still, it wasn't all easy. There were consequences. Some people believed the scandal made me just as toxic as those who tried to ruin me, that I had stooped to their level, that I should have taken the high road. But the high road had potholes of hypocrisy and blind forgiveness, and I'd driven that road long enough. So, I paved my own. I walked into the office one last time. Head high. No makeup. No armor. I didn't need it. The walls felt different now. The same walls that once held my shame now echoed with theirs. People avoided my gaze, mumbled greetings, or just stared silently. When I reached my desk, it was already clean. I had resigned a week ago, but I wanted to walk in one last time. Not for them, for me. To remind myself I survived the very place they tried to bury me. My manager approached me, sheepishly. "Can we talk?" I smiled politely. There's nothing left to say. He tried again. I didn't know how bad it had gotten. And maybe he didn't. But he didn't ask when it mattered. He watched. Silent. Complicit. I walked out without looking back. Days turned into weeks. The online chatter faded. Their accounts went private. One of them deleted all their posts. Another moved to a different city. The rest? I stopped tracking. I didn't care anymore. But life has a way of reminding you that peace is never permanent. One evening, while scrolling through my emails, I saw something strange. An anonymous message. No name. No contact info.
Just a single line.
You only exposed the tip of the iceberg. I blinked. Reread it. Was it a threat? A warning? A confession? Suddenly, all that clarity I had felt began to blur. Had I missed something? Was there more? Was someone still hiding something? I tried to trace the email. No luck. It was sent from a burner. I brushed it off. Told myself it was someone trying to stir the pot again. But that line, you only exposed the tip of the iceberg.
It haunted me.
A week later, I received a brown envelope on my doorstep. No postage. No return address. Inside, printed screenshots of a group chat, dated months before the lies began. It wasn't just Sophia. Or Aaron. There were more names. Names I had never suspected.
People who smiled at me,
Laughed with me.
defended me.
One of them had even hugged me during my lowest moment and said, "You don't deserve this." Turns out, they started it. My stomach dropped. They weren't just passive bystanders. They were the architects. The puppeteers. Sophia was just the loudest puppet. And that meant someone else was still out there, watching. Someone who wanted me to know the full truth.
Why?
Were they trying to help? Or finish what the others started? That night, I barely slept.
My door locked.
Phone off. Curtains drawn. Because I realized something terrifying. This wasn't over. The lies they spread about me, that was only the beginning. The real scandal, the one I didn't even know I was part of, was still unfolding. And I had just stepped into the shadows of a truth darker than I imagined. Final sentence, chilling. Somewhere, someone is still watching, and this time, I don't think they want an apology.